Joining us now on the line is Ann Coulter, the New York Times best-selling author of, among others, In Trump We Trust. Ann, how are you today?
Fantastic. How are you? It's getting a little tedious, the same thing being gone over and over again. Liberals must be awfully disappointed that we're right back to Manafort, which I think we knew about during the transition. A Manafort assistant. It's for tax evasion going back 10 years, having nothing to do with Russian collusion, nothing to do with Trump, and some no name, or a name, I don't mean that in an insulting way, but a name no one's ever heard before. What's his name? Papadopoulos?
Or as Wolf Blitzer called him, George Stephanopoulos.
Yeah, and he's pled guilty, I guess, to lying to the FBI about, right, again, something having nothing to do with Trump.
Right, and he also told...
It's great that all these laws are being fully enforced, yeah. And generally political consultants, I'm not saying that about any of these people, but generally they are a sleazy class of people, so I'm not losing any sleep. This has nothing to do with the purpose of the investigation, and yet... you just hear the same information that we knew basically during the transition. A few things, little details, the Don Jr. meeting, but it all just keeps being rolled out every few weeks with all new hysteria, as if we've learned something new. Clearly, this investigation is producing nothing, or there would be something new at some point.
By the way, Ann, it's in the indictment. He's not charged with it. It's not a separate count, but apparently he lied to the high-ranking campaign official, who turns out to be Paul Manafort. He told him that the female Russian national he was meeting with was Putin's niece. That was a lie too, Ann, as you probably could figure out.
It's very strange. I mean, you can throw a rock outside a window in Washington and hit a political consultant who's making gazillions of dollars from some sad regime someplace who thinks American political consultants have all this savvy and insight. And yeah, probably a lot of them have offshore accounts, and probably if you go through their taxes, we can collect some money. I'm not sure that the money they're collecting, assuming they do collect money here, is going to pay for this investigation. Did you see, by the way, right as I was calling into you, as many of us suspected, it looks like Tony, I think his name is Tony
Podesta, yeah.
Yeah, is the next one to go now, because everything Manafort was doing, he was doing in conjunction with Tony Podesta, close associate of Hillary Clinton's.
Yeah, and apparently the Podesta lobbying group, which was planning on getting really, really rich during the Clinton presidency, is now fallen on hard times. And now that he's been named as a potential subject or target of the special counsel, the business is expected to drop off even further. So he had to resign today, and that's another indication. And how about the fact that last week they were telling us, oh, this Uranium One deal, sure, the Clintons got $145 million, but it was like 8 years ago that this happened. And so now you read the Manafort indictment. This they're going back 10 years now, and we're told that this is the smoking gun, that Donald Trump will be gone by Thanksgiving or Christmas at the very latest.
Yes, there's a lot of hysteria without a lot of facts, and the Uranium One deal. There are so many amazing things about it. It is so dirty. It is so far beyond anything they've even accused Donald Trump of. If he had done one molecule of the Uranium One deal, I mean, as Secretary of State approving, yes, other people approve. Secretary of State's kind of an important approval one at that stage, a deal that allows Russia to take control of 20% of our uranium-producing capacity. Apparently, Putin is desperate to corner the market on uranium production. They don't have enough for themselves. And being in control of all production worldwide would be very useful to him. Meanwhile, much smaller deals by China, for example. China wanted to buy a gold mine, I think, in Nevada, and that was shut down. But Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, defying an agreement that she had taken with the Obama administration, I think liberals still like Obama, that any donations to the Clinton Foundation that had anything to do with anything she was working on would be transparent. She'll reveal them. She'll tell the Obama administration and the public about them to make sure there's no double dealing. She didn't do that here. And as you say, it's more than $100 million from associates of the people who wanted this deal to go through. And throw in, okay, so we have the Uranium One deal that looks unbelievably bad. Can you imagine if Trump had gotten in and approved of this deal with Putin now that liberals have decided that Russia is the most evil regime on earth, worse than Al-Qaeda and worse than North Korea? I don't know why we're supposed to think that, but apparently we all do think that. And yeah, this is oh my gosh, if Donald Trump had approved some sweetheart deal for that Putin wanted after becoming president. Throw into that what we found out last week, that Hillary Clinton and the DNC paid $12 million to Fusion GPS for the Russian dossier. The only really hard evidence of Russia's attempt to interfere with our election was that dossier on Donald Trump, which the FBI, we still don't know if the FBI, I think we don't know, actually laid out money to Fusion GPS to also pay the Kremlin for information on an opposition candidate. But they looked at it, they disseminated it, and they may have used it to get those
warrants.
Wiretaps.
Yeah, the warrants. Yeah, and you went to law school. Are you familiar with the phrase "fruit of the poison tree"?
Right. No, this is really, really, really bad. And the most confusing thing about it is you would think that Democrats, I mean, maybe the Democrats had nothing to do with this. Maybe MSNBC and CNN and the New York Times just went off on their own and decided this Russia collusion story was going to be good for them and a good way to needle Trump. But if the Democrats, they seem to work hand in glove with the mainstream media, I think they might have should have told Rachel Maddow, hey, could you cool it with the Russia collusion stuff? Because if this comes out about the DNC and Hillary Clinton campaign paying $12 million to the Kremlin for dirt on Donald Trump, I mean, how many weeks do we have to hear about Don Jr. meeting with someone who claims to be from Russia and have some kind of Russian dirt on Hillary? No, now suddenly we hear, well, every campaign does opposition research. They didn't say that about Don Jr. Right. Don Jr. didn't get anything.
Yeah, and here's another thing that, before, now they're saying, well, it really doesn't matter who paid for the dossier. Well, remember Citizens United? It sure as hell mattered who paid for Citizens United, didn't it? I mean, Hillary Clinton was willing to take the First Amendment out of the Bill of Rights because
no, they always think it matters unless it's about Trump or a Republican. I mean, it just makes your head spin to see the double standards going on here. And meanwhile, the Democrats and Hillary Clinton really do seem to be guilty of everything they're accusing Trump of, for which, despite every journalist in America looking for evidence and, a full-time independent counsel and every Democrat in Congress, there's no evidence of it. Now it's just dropped in our lap that Hillary actually was conspiring with the Kremlin to get dirt on Donald Trump through that Russian dossier with Fusion GPS.
But she didn't know anything about it, Ann. Surely you believe her story, just like Debbie Wasserman Schultz didn't know anything about it. John Podesta didn't know anything about it. $12 million is walking out the door of these two places, the DNC and the Hillary Clinton campaign, and they knew nothing about where the money was going. Nobody ever said, "Hey, what are we getting for this $12 million?"
Well, I detect some sarcasm from you, Howie. But beyond what you and I and probably your listeners would say, which is exactly what you just say, "Oh, give me a break," I think it's worth mentioning that Doug Schoen, Democrat in good standing, I think a full-on supporter of Hillary Clinton, wrote an article yesterday saying, "Look, I've been a campaign consultant for 40 years. You don't spend millions of dollars on opposition research and not have the candidate know all about it, know all of the evidence coming through." Not to mention that they thought this dossier, I mean, unlike this meeting of Don Jr.'s with that Russian woman who really just wanted to talk about adoptions from Russia, they thought this dossier was the bee's knees. I mean, it was passed around. It went to McCain. It went to the FBI. It was released by BuzzFeed and covered like the moon landing back in January when the press got a hold of it. They thought this was fantastic.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That is a good way to describe it. It was covered by the moon landing, like the moon landing. And the problem here is for the Democrats is that I mean this is a 1 day or a 2 day story. We're going to have this guy up before these congressional committees very shortly, the Uranium One witness, and he's going to be testifying about what he knows. I think that'll be a little better TV than Paul Manafort doing the perp walk down in D.C.
Well, normally I would disagree with you on that only because Republicans are so terrible at holding hearings, but through an intervention of God's hands, Trey Gowdy will be running this hearing as far as I can tell, the only member of our party who knows how to run a hearing.
Yeah, but
so yes, I think it will be must-view TV.
All right, Ann. So what's the title of your book again?
In Trump We Trust, E Pluribus Awesome.
Thank you, Ann Coulter. We'll talk to you next week. I'm Howie Carr.